So, a pleasant day to each and every one of you. So, a while ago, I was talking about quantitative analysis and how essential it is in drawing conclusion for our action research, most especially if we are going to interpret and analyze numerical data. So, um, as what I've said, the raw data that we have are useless without them being subjected to quantitative analysis using statistical treatment. So there are two kinds of statistics. I've said a while ago, the descriptive statistics, which aims to describe, and the inferential statistics, which aims to infer if whether or not the variables have significant relationship or difference. So this time we're going to talk about that. However, we're going to calculate those kind of statistical treatment using the Microsoft Excel and SPSS. So let's start first with Microsoft Excel. So in Microsoft Excel, we need to look for data here on options, and then under it, we have data analysis. Sir, in our Microsoft Excel, we don't have any data analysis under data. So what are we gonna do? So first, we're going to go to File. After that, Options, click Add-ins, and then look for Analysis Toolpak. So in this case, it's here. So Analysis Toolpak. Right after that, click Go. After clicking Go, a dialog box that looks like this should appear. Na kay pang checkan dira, so i-check nimo si Analysis Toolpak only. Pwede na to siya i-check tanan, however, it would just confuse us kay daghan na kayong option sa data analysis. Analysis Toolpak naman po ang needed sa ato. So let's click OK. Then right after that, data analysis should be seen. Dapat na gyud siya makita na gyud siya sa inyong under the data. So after that, na may data analysis, let's click data analysis. Let's click descriptive statistics and click OK. The moment nga na-click na si descriptive statistics, na tawag nga input range and the output range. What is the input range? The input range refers to the data we're going to input para makakita taog result or output. So unsa man ang data nga atong i-input, muna siya ang number of hours on mobile games o ang scores sa mga bata in their achievement test scores in math. Okay? So muna siya atong i-input. So ato na siyang i-select. Okay, select na to tanan. Then click labels in first row. Why is this important? In order for us to know unsa man to siya nga data under sa hours ba to siya or mobile games. After that one, output range. Output range refers to ana to gusto ibutang ang result, or shall we say the output of the data or the output of the statistical treatment. So in my case, actually we could put this in a new worksheet, but in my own reference, diri ra gyud ako siya itapad sa input or ma-compare na ko si input o si output. Diri na ko siya ibutang. Okay? So right after that, click Summary Statistics. Check that one. Kana, o wala na siya na-check. Why is that so? Diba we've talked about that descriptive statistics is composed of the mean, the median, the mode, as well as the variance, the range, so on. So aron makita na to siya, i-click na to si Summary Statistics. So after clicking Summary Statistics, click OK. After that one, you should have this result. Dapat na ani siya na dayon. So, si mean, muna siya. Number of hours, iyang mean, muna siya. Si scores, muna siya. Iyang mean, muna siya. So, technically, muna ni siya ang result. So, how are we going to present this in our action research report? So, we are going to present this in a tabular or graphical representation para dili ma-confuse si reader. Okay, so next is the correlation coefficient. So correlation coefficient, once again, refers to the relationship between variables. So in this case, atong variable, number of hours in mobile games, ang score sa mga bata. So unsa man lang relasyon? Or do they have any relationship at all? So what are we gonna do? So first, magbutang tayo correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient. Okay, we have here correlation coefficient. Right after that one, diri siya sa tapad, let's click, I'll press equal sign, and then type Pearson. So if makita na si Pearson, pwede na po na to siya i-click diretso. Double click na to siya. So si Pearson na siya si array 1 and array 2. What does this mean? Array 1 refers to the data under our first variable. So in this case, the number of hours on mobile games. So muna siya ang data. Then after that one, na-select na nato si data, dirita ni array 2. Array 2 refers to the data of the second variable. Okay, muna siya ang data sa itong second variable, which are the scores of pupils in mathematics. After that one, close parenthesis, then press enter. So the correlation coefficient is negative 0.8357. So what does that mean? So ang meaning ana is this. When the correlation coefficient is negative 1, there is a perfect negative correlation or relationship. If the correlation coefficient is negative 0.7 to negative 0.99, there is a strong negative relationship. If the correlation coefficient is negative 0.5 to negative 0.69, there is a moderate negative relationship. If the correlation coefficient is negative 0.3 to negative 0.49, there is a weak negative relationship. It's 0, there is no relationship at all between variables. If it's 0.3 to 0.49, the variables have weak positive relationship. If it's 0.5 to 0.69, the variables have positive, moderate positive relationship. And if it's 0.7 to 0.99, the variables have strong positive relationship. And if it's 1, the variables have perfect positive relationship. So muna siya, diba? So in this case, the interpretation is that man siya na belong, negative 0. Ako i-zoom aron makita sa tanan. Man siya na belong. So na belong ni siya sa dere negative 0.7 to negative 0.99. Therefore, our variables here have strong negative relationship. Negative relationship. So what does that mean? So as what I've said a while ago during my discussion about correlation coefficient, if the variables have negative relationship, it means the relationship is indirect or inverted, meaning if variable x increases, variable y decreases. If variable x decreases, variable y increases. So in this case, the longer the learners spend on mobile games, or the higher the number of hours the learners have on his mobile games, the lesser his scores are in mathematics. On the other hand, the lesser number of hours the learners spend playing on his or her mobile games, the greater his or her scores are in mathematics. So muna siya ang meaning. So meaning bali siya. So that's it for the correlation coefficient and descriptive statistics. Now let's proceed to paired t-test. Now we are now on paired t-test. So what does the paired t-test mean? So paired t-test is a statistical treatment we're going to do, or we're going to subject our data if our data represents before and after or dependent sila with each other o tong sets of data. For example, pre-test and post-test. So na siya before and after. For example, if we want to measure or if we want to know the significant difference between the before and after results of the person nga yung weight loss after introducing a diet, or shall we say the growth of the tree after giving the tree fertilizer. So pwede na siya nato gamiton si paired t-test. So why is that needed? In order to establish the significance. In the actual research, it's already given naman na there is a growth, there is an improvement right after the employment of the intervention. Why so? Because before nato gi-introduce ang strategy, wala man ginahibawan ang mga bata about sa ato ang topic or subject matter, right? Therefore, we should expect that during the pre-test, they would, most of them, or shall we say generally, they would have low scores in the pre-test. And in the post-test, nagyo siya improvement because we have already introduced the subject matter using our strategy, or shall we say our intervention. So, but the question is the improvement, or shall we say the difference between our pre-test and post-test scores significant? Is it that outstanding na we can say that the strategy is effective? So is the muna siya ang question diha. So that's why paired t-test is very important, most especially in testing a strategy, most especially in action research for one group ra ni siya pod. Okay? So now, so much for that. How are we going to do the paired t-test? So first, we are going to click Data Analysis and then look for t-test paired to sample for means. Naadere. So we can click that. After clicking that, we can click OK. So makita nato si dialog box na pod. Okay? So dirita sa variable 1 range. Unsa man ning range sa variable 1? The variable 1 range muna siya atong pre-test or before ang range ato sa before. Pwede nato i-click si pre-test because is the scores atong before sa mga bata. Okay, so next is variable 2 range muna siya ang after or the post-test. Okay, click nato siya. Okay, select nato ang whole data. Right after that one, let us going to check labels para dili ta ma-confuse. Pre-test ba to siya or post-test? Dili na to siya ma-interchange. Then set the alpha, or shall we say the margin of error. So why is this important? So I've already talked about this a while ago nga ang alpha may mag-determine sa itong margin of error o confidence interval. So we have, if we have 0.05, we have a margin of error of 0.05 or 95% confidence level. So meaning, muna siya because it's education belongs to sociological sciences. Diba? So sociology man na belongs to education. So munang diri na siya sa 0.05. If 0.01, muna to siya ang natural sciences. So dirita sa output range. So ama na to ibutang, as what I've set output range, ana to ibutang, diri na to ibutang ang result. Right after clicking that, let's click OK. After that one, na dayon ang iyahang result. Muna siya ang mean. Muna siya ang mean sa pre-test, mean sa post-test. Variance, observation or the number of cases. Then Pearson correlation, na may relationship ang duha. Hypothesis, meaning. So, unsa may tan-awon, sir, para sa ato ang para makakonclude ta if there is a significant difference. Dirita sa p-value, two-tailed. Okay? Unsa may tan-awon nato dira? If we are going to look at, giset nato ang p-value ganiha og ay ang Cronbach alpha og 0.05. So in this case, guys, ang atuang p-value two-tailed is less than 0.05. In fact, 0.0007. Therefore, there is a significant difference between the pre-test and post-test. Okay, less than man siya sa atong p-value. Okay, na-gets ba? Or it's less than the p-value ay is less than 0.05. Okay, so meaning, interpretation is significant. Anak lang na siya. So it's simple as that. We're going to look at the p-value if whether or not significant ba ang difference. Okay, that's for our paired t-test. Next is independent t-test. So, dili na to i-confuse atong self sa paired t-test o independent t-test. When we talk about paired t-test, the before and after, or shall we say ang sa una o karon, or the improvement or the growth or the difference. Ang dire sa independent t-test, we're going to talk about two independent samples. So, two independent sets of data. So, wala taga-compare og before og after. So, in this case, we have their control group and experimental group. So, in experimental research, a control group is the group not exposed to the intervention, and experimental group is the group exposed to the intervention. Diba mauna siya? So, muna siya atong two independent samples. How are we going to do that? It's very simple. Once again, go to data analysis. So after going to data analysis, look for t-test to sample assuming equal variances. So muna siya, magawas na si dialog box. Pag click nimo ana, click nimo si OK na si dialog box. The same as ako ang variable 1, muna siya ang una natong variable na i-compare. So in this case, si control group. And si variable 2, muna siya si experimental group. Right after that one, i-click na to si labels para dili ta ma-confuse og experimental group or control group pa na siya nga result sa data. Then alpha is 0.05 once again because this is social science na study. Click dayon nato si output range. Ama nato gusto mabutang ang atong result. So dire, okay. Okay, dala tayo butang. After that one, we click OK. And we should have results now. For the experimental group, nata dire mean, nata variance observation, or what we call the number of cases, nata dire P two-tailed gihapon atong tan-awon. So nga naman na sir nga mura man siya og kwan. If ingon ani gay siya naka-exponent siya, pwede nato siya gamitan. I-highlight nato dito sa home. Aron mahimo siyang 0. Okay. Okay, so in this case, kung atong tan-awon, it's 0.0000 something. And that is once again less than 0.05, which is our Cronbach alpha. Therefore, the interpretation of our result is significant. There is a significant difference between the performance of the control group and experimental group. So simple as that. Okay. So the last one is Anova. Okay, Anova. How are we going to do that? Okay. So sa Anova, mugamit tatag Anova if it's more than 2 ang atong independent samples. Independent t-test naman na siya og 2 Anova if it's more than 2. Okay? So in this case, natay control group, experimental group 1, and experimental group 2. Let's try to change. Okay. Experimental group 1 and experimental group 2. What are we going to do? Once again, go to data, click data analysis, Anova, single factor. After that one, let's try to find Anova single factor. Click OK. Okay, that's it. So, input range, aman to ato ang mga kon. So, muna siya i-copy na to tanan. Atong data para sa input range. Labels in first row. Once again, dili ta malimot og click anang labels in first row because that is very important para dili ta ma-confuse. Our Cronbach's alpha here is correct, 0.05. So, set siya sa ato ang confidence level. So, output range, nato ibutang ang result. After that one, click OK. Output range missing. Oh, okay. I've already, why is this? Okay. Okay. Then output range. Select na to output range. Okay. Right after that, click OK. Sorry, I was mistaken a while ago. Wala na akong na-click si output range. So, i-click nato siya para muran ang kuan. Okay, after that one, click OK. So, naana na yun siya dire. So, naana siya average, variance, ato ang experimental group 1, 2, and our control group. So, naata dire, p-value. So, sama to pagkabalo nga si p-value. So, once again, nakaingon ani siya, exponential form siya. Para dili siya ma-exponential form, ato lang siyang i-highlight tanan. Atong i-ana. Okay? So, in this case, our p-value here is less than, once again, p-value is 0.000, which is less than 0.05. Therefore, the difference among the three groups is significant. So, naa siya significant difference. So, as easy as that, I hope you've learned a lot using Excel while doing the statistical treatments, descriptive statistics, paired t-test, independent t-test, and Anova. So let's now proceed to using the SPSS. Good day, everyone. So I will be talking about now statistical treatment using the SPSS. Okay, so SPSS is one of the most famous statistical software that researchers are using for them to analyze data. So as you may see, the environment of the SPSS is different from that of the Excel. This is because SPSS is really intended for data analysis. However, Excel, you can make sheets there, you can type documents. Pero kaniyong SPSS is only for data analysis. So naa diri data view and variable view. So in the data view, you can see the data. On the variable view, you can see information about the data such as its name, its type, with decimal, and everything. So the situation here, first we're going to analyze descriptive statistics. Unsaon nato siya pag himo or unsaon nato siya pagkabalo sa descriptive statistics here using SPSS. So the situation is the same kaganiha sa Excel, that we're going to compare the number of hours the learner spend on his mobile games versus the number their scores in mathematics. Okay. So as you may see, wala siya name, variable 001, variable 002. How are we going to change that? So we are going to go to variable view. Dira to i-change ang name. Let's label the number of hours as hours and the scores of the children in their achievement test as scores. So makita nato nga nausab siya dire. And we can also see nga nag-decimal point siya. Since we don't have decimal places man pod na filled in sa ato ang data, pwede nato i-zero ang decimals dire. Okay. Okay, so na-zero na siya. So how are we going to get the descriptive statistics? So click Analyze. Right after that, Descriptive Statistics. After that, Descriptives, and click Descriptives. nanata dire. Yan ang pangutanon unsa nga variables ang atong kuhaan og variables descriptive statistics. Data the variable. So this refers to the variable we're going to have, or shall we say, analyze for the descriptive statistics. So atong gusto si number of hours o si scores. Before we're going to press OK, there is a kita sa options. Unsa man nga variable atong gusto unsa man nga specific about descriptive statistics atong makita. Si mean, si standard deviation, si minimum, si maximum, ato pong i-include si range o si variance. And also, mura man siguro, dili na tamag ko ana ng sum. Then after that, we're going to click continue. Okay, after clicking continue, pwede na nato siya makita. Let's going to click OK. Okay, pag-click na tog OK, naa siya sa output. Okay, lahi siya nga, mugawa siya sa lahi nga window na dire output. So makita nato iyang descriptive statistics, iyang range, iyang minimum, maximum. Usa man yung minimum, muna yung minimum niya nga data, the maximum data, na diri si mean, na diri standard deviation, na po si variance. So muna siya ang result sa itong descriptive statistics. Okay? So how about if we're going to talk about correlation? So dali ra siya, click correlate, click bivariate, maora gihapon siya, ikuha na to ang variable. So atong variable kay si scores man og si hours, i-click na to si OK. Okay, two-tailed jud siya pirmi. Pearson matong gamit. Pag-click na tong OK, na siya correlation. So as you may see, the correlation is 0.000, and here also the number of hours is 0.00. Therefore, it is significant. And also the correlation is negative 0.836, negative 0.836. Therefore, the relationship between the hours and the scores is strong negative relationship. The same siya sa results atong Excel ganina because the same raman pod ang data nga akong gigamit. So in that sense, naa siya nakakuha na to iyang correlation, coefficient. Okay? So now we're going to discuss about paired t-test and how are we going to do this using the SPSS. As I may say a while ago that in the paired t-test, we are going to compare two dependent samples. So particularly growth and the like. Okay. So in having this paired t-test, so this is the data view. I've already changed this. I talked a while ago on how we're going to change the name. We're just going to go to the variable view, right? Okay, so in this case, we are going to go to analyze, click analyze. Right after clicking analyze, click compare means, and then you can see here, paired samples t-test. Okay, in the paired samples t-test, i-click na to na siya, and we are going to see this one. Okay, ako sa ibalik, I've already did this a while ago. So we can see here in the dialog box, variable 1 and variable 2. Okay, the variable 1 here talks about the before. So in this case, the pre-test. We are going to click the pre-test and click this button para mapunta siya sa variable 1. Next thing we're gonna do is click again the post-test aron mapunta siya sa variable 2, which means the after. So click post-test, click this button, and then ano siya sa variable 2. Right after, let's go to options in order for us to check the confidence interval percentage. And in my case here, there is akong dialog box, nakita nga 95%, which is the correct confidence interval percentage since we are dealing with sociological science in this study. Okay, let's click continue. Right after, we're going to click OK. and the result is now here. As we can see, here's the mean of the pre-test, the post-test mean, the number of students who took the exam, or shall we say the count, the standard deviation, standard error mean. So what are we going to look into? So hamay ato ang tanahon for the analysis of result, to know if there is a significant difference. Is it the paired samples correlations or paired samples test? As we may see, when we talk about correlations, we are talking about relationship. And in this, if we're going to use the paired t-test, we are not after of the relationship between the pre-test and the post-test. What we are after of is a significant difference, because we are trying to analyze the improvement, how improved, or shall we say, the effectiveness of the strategy. So muna siya atong gi-analyze. So ang improvement siya atong gi-tanaw. So the correlation is 0.039, therefore there is no relationship between the pre-test and the post-test. So wala gid siya relasyon in a way, because wala man ta ga-test o direct ba or indirect ang relationship. Dirita mo tanaw sa kani sig two-tailed. As we may see, na diri 0.001 ang yang sig two-tailed. Muna siya iyang p-value. So if the p-value is less than 0.05, this means that there is a significant difference between the pre-test and the post-test. Naa siya difference. Okay? So, in this sense, effective ang intervention. Now that we're done with the paired t-test, let us now proceed with the independent t-test using the SPSS. As we may see, it's very different. The environment of the SPSS is very different from that of the Excel, because in the Excel, the groupings are done by column, or shall we say vertically. On the other hand, in SPSS, the groupings are done horizontally, as what you may see here. So group and scores, group scores. So what I did is that I represented numeric numbers, or shall we say numerical value, to the groups. Group 1 here represents the control group, and group 2 here represents the experimental group. How are we going to do that? So, man nato niya nga aron ma-interpret siya sa SPSS. Let's go to variable view. Diri dayon ta sa values. Click na to ang ellipsis. After that one, ay mo gawas na dialog box like this. What are we going to do is we're going to assign the value to the label. As what I've said a while ago, ang 1 nako is my control group. Then, i-click na to si add. So, that would mean nga ang 1, i-interpret siya ni SPSS as the control group. Group 2, or sabi siya ang 2, ako siyang ikuan as the experimental group. And click add. And in that sense, ang 2 diha, ma-interpret na siya as experimental group ni SPSS. Right after that, click OK, and it's good to go. After this one, we are going to click Analyze. Then Compare Means, click Compare Means. After clicking Compare Means, we're going to click Independent Samples t-test. After that one, so I go, nata day group og scores. Man nato ibutang si scores og si group. So when we talk about test variables, it's the variables we are going to test, or muna siya ang data nga atong i-test. Therefore, ang atong ibutang diri, ang atong mang i-test ang scores atong ibutang. The grouping variable are the groups nga naata. So ato siyang ibutang po diha si grouping variable. So before nato i-click siya, i-define nato ang group. Group 1 here is 1. Okay, si group 2 is 2, i-click nato si continue. After this one, we're going to click OK. After clicking OK, this should appear ang t-test. So si control group na iyang mean, iyang count, si experimental group pod, what are we going to look at? As what I've said, dito ta sa sig two-tailed. So dire ta sa equal variances assumed. So sig two-tailed equal variances assumed is 0.000, which means that there is a significant difference between the two groups. So meaning, as we may see man pod, makita na siya sa mean daan nga na difference. Kay 5 man dire is 14 when we round it off. So naa siya difference. But the question is, it is significant. So makita na to siyang p-value na 0.000 na significant ang iyahang difference. So this would mean that our intervention is effective. Now, after the independent t-test, so we are now on the Anova. As what I've said, basically Anova and independent t-test are the same. However, in independent t-test, it is limited to only 2 independent variables. And Anova can be used for 2 or more independent variables. So basically, they are used to interpret, or shall we say, analyze data of independent samples or variables. So in this case, I will repeat that in SPSS, lahi iyang environment from that of the Excel. Because in Excel, the groupings are vertical. However, in SPSS, the groupings are horizontal. So, muna siya. So, we need to assign numerical values to our groupings. So, for example, in this case, 1 here is for the control group, 2 is for the experimental group 1, and 3 for the experimental group 2. So, we're going to do that. So, how are we going to set the SPSS to interpret the groupings? So, man na to pagkuan nga kaning 1 yung interpret as control group and 2 yung experimental group as tapos si 3. So it's the same with the independent t-test. We go to values. Right after, let's going to click the ellipses. And itulo ka diha. I-assign na to ang value sa label. So I said 1 is for the control group. Then click add. 2 is for the experimental group 1. Then click add. And 3 is for the experimental group 2. Then click add. Okay, so now in this case, na-interpret, i-click na to si OK para ma-interpret na ni SPSS ang atong groupings. So 1, control group, 2, experimental group 1, and 3, experimental group 2. Pag-click na to OK, okay na siya. So we are going to click analyze. So para makuha na nato ang iyang Anova if there is an independent, significant difference between our samples. Next is compare means. Click compare means. Then click one-way Anova. After that one, naata dire, dependent list of factor. So, unsa may ato ibutang sa dependent list o unsa ato ibutang sa factor. So, basically, the dependent list is our dependent variable, the result of our dependent variable, which is the scores. If kay mo man siya maapektuhan sa atong independent variable, which is the intervention. So, diri na to na siya ibutang. The factor is the group. Why does this become the factor? Because muna siya ang nagdetermine ato imong group ang mga pupils according sa ilang intervention na na-receive. So muna siya ang factor. Naglahi-lahi ilang performance because of the kind of intervention nga ilang na-receive as per our hypothesis. So i-click na to si group and then click this button para mabutang siya sa factor. Before that, before clicking OK, let's click options. Unsa may atong gusto makita. So, i-check na to. I-check na to si descriptive para makita na to si descriptive statistics. And also, we should check homogeneity of variance test para sa Levin's test of homogeneity. So, makita na to na later on, I will explain why is that important. And click continue. Right after that, click OK. Right after clicking OK, na tayo result dire. So, muni ang descriptives. So, muni ang mean sa control group, muni ang mean sa experimental group 1, mean sa experimental group 2. So, muna ni siya ang iyahang result. So, let's not delve sa descriptives more because we've already discussed that. Dirita sa test of homogeneity of variances. So, ato siyang tanawon to know if there is a significant difference between groups before the treatment or before the intervention. So as we may see, significant difference is 0.648. Therefore, this is more than the 0.05 Cronbach alpha. Therefore, there is no significant difference among the pupils across groups, meaning heterogeneous atong groups all throughout. So wala galailahi ilahang performance before the intervention. How about diri sa Anova? Dirita mo tanaw sa SIG sa Anova. Muni siya ang significant difference between the score sa performance sa nila sa after the intervention. As you may see, the significant difference is 0.00, which is less than 0.05. Which means there is no significant difference between, there is a significant difference among groups in terms of their scores. Meaning, effective ang intervention nga ato ang gihatag sa mga bata. So, 0.00 which is less than 0.05. So, there is a significant difference. So, muna siya ang kalahian. In the test of homogeneity, atong gi-test how heterogeneous the groups are. So, wala ba ta nahimong bias atong sampling. And in the Anova, makita nato ang iyahang ang effectiveness atong intervention diri sa SIG. So, that's it for quantitative analysis. I hope you've learned a lot from it. Actually, one takeaway we can get from quantitative analysis is that we can use this in our day-to-day teaching by subjecting our assessment sa quantitative analysis. So imagine, pwede nato siya ma-prove nga effective atong intervention using the test nga atong i-employ. So pwede nato siyang gamiton. So mas strong ang ato ang conclusion nga effective atong pagpanudlo, or shall we say our teaching strategy by establishing the significant improvement of our children. So in this case, we can use this. Instead of just getting the mastery level, instead of getting the mean, or shall we say the performance, or instead of only getting the item analysis, we can establish a significant difference in order for us to really know if there is an improvement on the part of the learners, or whether or not our intervention or our teaching strategies are effective enough to address the pressing problems inside our classrooms. And I guess that would be all for today. So I hope you've learned a lot from my discussion. And if you have some questions, you may put them down on the comment section. And thank you, God bless, and thank you.